Welcome back to my channel, and this video is not like anything that I've ever posted on this channel. And I feel like I was going to film today and I kind of took a step back because I find that I'm in a spot in my life where I want to be starting to make more purposeful content while I still want to talk about print on demand and Etsy because that is my passion at the end of the day. I love the world of print on demand, online business, and entrepreneurship. I would be lying to say that I am pulled as far as my purpose in life to get into a area that really represents what I struggle with on a daily basis. And I've talked about this in past YouTube videos, but today I wanted to just take a moment, sit down with you all, and really talk about something that I've been battling with, to be quite honest, for the past 10 years. And just this past 2 weeks, it's been an insane 2 weeks, and I just got this in the mail, which is so crazy. Thank you guys for this, and just thank you for supporting this channel and being here along the ride with me, because you all have given me such a purpose in my life. And I really am sending all of my virtual hugs to those of you who are watching, because I genuinely appreciate this and appreciate you guys giving me that feeling and that purpose in my life, because I have been struggling with things that I don't necessarily talk about on this channel just because I don't think that many people may resonate, or I feel like it is coming from an area of weakness that I try not to talk about. And sometimes I'm honestly scared to talk about it because I don't want people to know that I struggle daily with mental health. So 10 years ago, I initially had my first panic attack, and I went to the ER. Now, to say the least, this was the first panic attack I had due to one of my family members who had a heart issue. The same day that they went to the ER, I went to the ER that night thinking that maybe I had a heart issue. Come to find out, it was just a panic attack, just anxiety. My heart checked out, got an echocardiogram of my heart, everything was great. And this later spiraled into me having multiple episodes of panic attacks. And later on, I would be diagnosed with panic disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, and also depression. Now, this is something I don't really talk about because I just am kind of embarrassed. And I know for a lot of people watching, you may feel the same, and it's hard to talk about these things and bring it to light. But lately, I've just felt so wanting to come out of my shell and be as raw and open and honest with those of you and give back in a way that I haven't been able to before. And I'll talk about that a little bit later in this video. But one thing that really led me on this journey was because this year has been one of the hardest years I have went through as far as my mental health battle and journey, whatever, what have you, whatever you want, you call it personally. I know everyone has a different way that they go through what they're going through, right? And for me, my journey with my anxiety disorder got to a stage that I could not leave the house, and I could not walk down my street without having a panic attack. I couldn't drive anywhere on my own. Even if I drove or I was in a car with one of my family members and I typically felt comfortable, it would trigger a panic attack. And I got to the point that I was agoraphobic. And it's embarrassing to say aloud, but I'm saying it on this channel because I have struggled with that, and I've struggled with agoraphobia and agoraphobic tendencies a few times in my life. And while I don't think that makes me a weaker person or unable to do things, I still show up every day on YouTube. I show up every week on YouTube. I show up in the comment areas and also just on my communities and my courses for my students. And that's what it really gives me purpose and gives me a feeling of I'm meant to be here, right? And this is why I always show up for you all, because that is so important to me. But to say the least, I've been struggling mentally as far as this year, and we moved states. So we used to live in Chicago. We moved to the Carolinas. Beautiful, beautiful states over here. And I personally, from this move and from moving just far away from family and from everything that I grew up with and familiarity, it triggered me into one of the worst anxiety episodes I've ever dealt with and went through. And I've been silently struggling with that on a daily basis. Now, to say this all is just, it's hard. It's hard because I don't like admitting that I'm weak in certain areas, because I know that I have value to bring, and I have things within me that I want to share with the world. And sometimes through our weaknesses, we find strength. And I think that's what I've recently found through the course of this year. So this year I tried everything. I tried everything under the sun. I meditated. I took supplements. I saw doctors. I even had a heart test because I thought maybe it's not me. Maybe it's my blood. Maybe there's something else wrong with me. And come to find out, it was just simply anxiety masking all of my symptoms. So after the course of doing that and working out, I would work out 3 to 5 times a week. I would walk every day. I would try to walk every day. I really pushed myself out of my comfort zone the most I could. And after some time reaching out to psychiatrists, the psychiatrists in the area I moved, unfortunately, there was none that I could see within 3 months. So I went online. I contacted online doctors, and I eventually got prescribed some medication to help me. Now, that medication sat on my desk for some time. I'm not gonna lie, I was terrified to take it. And I've taken SSRIs in the past, and I was prescribed an SSRI this year, and I did not want to take it because I've had a bad experience with SSRIs, to be quite honest with you all. And I thought, I can do this naturally. I can do it naturally. And I kept trying. I tried my hardest to meditate, work out, take supplements, do all the things that people say that can naturally help anxiety. And my agoraphobia just got to a point that every day I was so terrified to even leave the house or go anywhere or do anything. And since I work from home completely now, which I'm so grateful of, I want to say that I'm so grateful of that, but mental health is something that sometimes shadows everything that is good in your life. And if you know, you know. And I found myself slipping into a very bad depression on top of this anxiety that was taking over my life quite quickly. And that's when I decided to finally take the first pill of my SSRIs. I started with generic sertraline HCl, which is also known as Zoloft, the brand name Zoloft. And from that, I'd say even within the first week, I noticed a difference. And luckily, I didn't have a bad side effect time in my life. I didn't have that big of a reaction. I was so surprised because I actually had a very positive journey. I had probably within the first week a feeling of hopefulness again when I was hopeless before I started taking medicine. And I don't want to make this a testimony to taking an SSRI because SSRIs are not for everyone. Please consult a doctor. I want to say at this portion of the video, please consult a doctor, please see someone and get some help, because sometimes you could have a deficiency in your nutrients, and maybe you do need a supplement, or maybe it is something else. And that's why it's good to seek out medical care and a doctor. But I know a lot of people don't have access to that. A lot of people don't. And even as a self-employed person that's dealing with mental health, it did scare me a lot that I was going on a path to the point that what if I can't work? What if I can't show up on YouTube anymore? What if I can't show up on my print on demand business and Etsy business? And then also for the people who I work with in my memberships and all of these places, what if I can't do that? And that really spiraled me too. And that's why I decided, I got to take this first pill. I got to see what I can do here, because I'm out of options. So within the first month, I noticed a drastic improvement. And within that first month, I started going to therapy as well. And I initially could not drive myself to therapy. That's how bad my agoraphobia got. And it's very embarrassing, but like even walking into the therapist's office by myself was so terrifying for me. I had a panic attack almost any time I walked into my therapist's office. And this is something that a lot of people in the mental health space miscategorize, or a lot of people who don't know about mental health so much might not know, which is that agoraphobia is not just not leaving the house. You can have agoraphobia and still leave the house. Just because you can't leave the house, that doesn't mean, or just because you can leave the house doesn't mean that you aren't agoraphobic. You can still be agoraphobic and leave the house. And that's something that went undiagnosed for a long time for me, because I didn't realize that agoraphobia is when you have severe anxiety leaving your home, because your home is your safe space. And that's what I've noticed that I've slowly grown into, is when I'm home, I usually have little to no anxiety. But when I leave my safe space, so to speak, that's when I start to have massive panic and massive anxiety. And it's really hard to leave, but I force myself to leave so I don't get to the point that I can't leave anymore, right? So, and I've been struggling with this and this increased feeling for the past 2 years. And typically agoraphobia is more of a long-term diagnosis. So I want to say I'm not a medical professional by any means, but I want to say it's like 3 to 6 months plus. If you have that, that's something that, again, is just extreme form and severe form of anxiety, unfortunately, that I hope none of you have to ever go through. But I know a lot of you also struggle, right? And I'm not alone by any means. You're not alone by any means if you're dealing with that. And I wanted to share my story because I think it's really important on exactly where I am now and how much I've improved. So the story gets better, I promise, guys. Stick with me if you're still watching this video. But from me taking that first step and taking medicine, going to therapy, I started driving to places on my own. I started practicing exposure therapy in my time with my agoraphobia, because anytime I left the house, I got triggered into a bad panic attack. So I started leaving the house more. I started doing the uncomfy things and uncomfortable things that I pushed myself to do. And I pushed myself out of the house to go to just the coffee, like Starbucks. Like I went to Starbucks, and I know some people who deal with anxiety, caffeine is not good. Caffeine is not good with anxiety, but you know what? I am addicted to coffee, and I will say I have halved my caffeine intake, but I still love caffeine. I get half decaf now, and I'm still in love with it. I love me a oat milk latte where I get 2/3 to half decaf in my oat milk latte now. So for anyone who's experiencing anxiety and doesn't want to give up coffee, sometimes half decaf can do it, or just going to decaf. I found half decaf was enough to wake me up, but also not enough to cause me further anxiety. So pro tip for you guys who are experiencing similar. But anyways, all this to kind of say, I went to therapy, I took the SSRIs, and within a month, I would say week 3, week 4 of doing both those things, I started to see micro changes in my life. So I started driving by myself to get coffee almost every other day, which was really bad for my budget because I should not be spending that much on coffee. But you know what? That helped me at the time that I was doing it. And luckily, like, I just want to say that I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to be able to do that. But I will say, like, my therapist even told me during that time, like, you could just get a venti triple water, from Starbucks. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. But I still like my oat milk latte, so I have to do the oat milk latte, right? But anyways, side tangent. All this to say, in the 3rd week, going on the 4th week, I started driving to therapy on my own. I started leaving the house. I started walking farther than I ever had before down my block. And I started doing things and wanting to do things. At that time, I realized that I had anxiety that masked my depression. And I feel like this is something that comes hand in hand sometimes with mental health, is having depression and anxiety. And sometimes the anxiety is just so strong, you don't even realize you have depression. And that's where I was in my life this year, that I was so depressed. Nothing made me happy. Nothing really made me want to do things. And I love my life. I love everything a part of it. I have a wonderful husband that's been supportive throughout this entire journey. He's been with me every single moment and calmed me down. And I have an incredible, cute dog that I look at every day and I'm like, you are the cutest thing to ever exist. And I have a wonderful life and I am so blessed for everything that I have. But again, depression and anxiety can cloud all of that, and it can make it so you just don't feel enough, or you don't feel like tomorrow is worth being here for. And that sounds really, really dark to say aloud, but I had a moment this year where I said something along those lines, and while I wouldn't act on it, I had that moment with myself where I said, you know what, it's time. I need help. And I wanted to be very vocal and honest with you all about that because I know a lot of other people struggle. And so with all this, I saw those micro improvements in my life. And now I can say that I have seen and felt so much more hopeful in my life. I enjoy doing things now. I look forward to the next day. I'm taking up new hobbies. I'm reading a lot. And that's something I really enjoy. I love reading. I love reading like rom-com books, Abby Jimenez books. I don't know if anyone else is an Abby Jimenez fan, but I love book reading now. I love even going and reading business books again. I take on reading. I read probably like 50 to 100 pages a day now. I love going to the gym and exercising, and I drive myself by myself. And I know that sounds so silly saying aloud because it's like, yeah, Heather, you're an adult. You should be driving yourself everywhere. But coming from an agoraphobic place where I couldn't drive on my own because it gave me such a massive panic attack, and even being in the car with someone, I got massive anxiety leaving the house. I'm able to do all these things without anxiety just clouding every single step I ever took. And even that depression that came with it, that I felt like I would never be able to live and enjoy life like I normally did. before this ever happened to me. So all this to say, and all this to share because I wanted someone on this YouTube channel to know that you aren't alone and there's help. And I hope that anyone who's struggling as well seeks out that help, even if it's small, tiny steps in going through your journey and talking to a doctor. I really hope that you find that. And from this video and from hitting this just incredible milestone, that I'm, again, just so grateful to have, I'm donating to a foundation that hopefully will help and impact others who don't have the means to afford healthcare. So if you could like this video, if you could just share this video with someone maybe, so we can get maybe more funds raised. And then I'm also going to link where you can donate as well, or donate on this video. I've never done this donation, and I feel like this is something I want to do in the future more often, is have mental health chats. I think my goal in the next few years and in the next 10 years is bringing mental health to the entrepreneur space, because I feel at this stage that I am recovered from this mental health disease that I've been through, and diseases, I guess, that I've been through. But I still struggle. There's still times where I have thoughts, and I don't think that ever goes away for any of us, unfortunately, and not to speak for anyone else, but I know for me, I don't think it's ever going to fully go away. And that's okay. Like, I want to say that the struggles I've went through in mental health and just all that I've went through in my entire life that maybe caused my anxiety and depression, I truly believe that it gives me a superpower or a super strength in a way to be able to understand people more and connect with people on a different level that I don't think I would have been able to. So besides that, I really want to bring mental health more to this channel, and awareness, and how to help, how to give back. And that's my goal going into the future. Whether that may kind of hurt this channel a little bit or not, I don't know how I'm going to intertwine it into business and all that this channel is, but I enjoy what I do in the print-on-demand and Etsy space. But I want to say that that's not my entire life and entirely who I am, and maybe a second channel would be good for that, but I do enjoy everything in the business life too. So it's like, it's hard for me to talk about mental health without business, because I love everything in the business realm, you know? So we'll see where this channel goes. But for those at the end of this video, please look at the resources in the description of this video on how you can get help, and maybe how you can find help or talk to someone if you are struggling as well. I really hope that this gives hope to those of you who are also struggling. And I just want to say that you can get through what you're going through, and we all are struggling daily with something. And whether that might not be mental health issues, maybe it's something else, I just want you to know that you can get through this hard battle that you may be going through right now. And I hope that this video gives some encouragement to those of you who are struggling as well. So besides that, that's it for this video. Again, check out those resources down below. Don't forget to donate in the side of this channel. I am personally sending through a donation myself to the foundation I have linked here. And besides that, I just really hope that this video sheds some light on the mental health space and provides encouragement and hope to those who are also struggling. So besides that, I'll see you guys in the next video here.